Hello friends, welcome to GS Core. And as every day, what we will be doing is we will be taking a look at important current affairs or important news from the point of view of UPSC. And we will be using the content of this news for the purpose of skilling ourselves to solve MCQs or prelims questions. Okay, so let us first take a look at important topics of the day. First is drug development in space. NASA has come up with it. New collective qualitative goals. This is something related to climate change and the way in which we are moving, we are moving beyond Copenhagen. Then coal bed methane, again something related to climate change and environment. UNCLOS, that is United Nations Convention of Laws on Seas, and then SLAPP, ठीक है, related to litigations. चलो, let us see what drug development in space is. So NASA has come up with an idea of utilizing zero gravity or microgravity in space for the purpose of formulation of drugs. Why is it so? The reason for that is very simple. Chemicals behave very differently at different gravitational levels. All right. If you watch closely now, then what we feel is some physical phenomena which we take for granted on Earth's surface. For example, convection. All right, convection is basically transfer of heat through physical contact. Or sedimentation basically is with respect to layering of one element or chemical over other. All right, due to various forces of nature, due to various forces. ठीक है, buoyancy. So these are certain physical phenomena that we see or take for granted on the surface of the Earth. Now in space, because there is no gravity, now what do we see is these actions do not happen, or these phenomena basically do not happen. All right, the only phenomena which will remain or which will play out in space is diffusion. Why? Because diffusion is basically random movement of particles. Though the way in which particles move, that may differ. The way in which particles move, that may differ, but basically there will be diffusion. And NASA also knows the nature of diffusion will be different in space, and this will be used by NASA for creating drugs. All right, creating drugs. Okay. So let us now look at the question: which of the following properties does not become redundant in space? That is, which of the following properties do happen even in space? That is the crux of the question. We have just seen it is diffusion. Okay. In this question, what you have to basically analyze is on which of these phenomena gravitation will not have impact. ठीक है, when I say this, I mean will not have impact on its happening. ठीक है, so if there is no gravitation, तो out of these four, three phenomena will not happen at all. That is what the question wants you to know, and for this you have to just know the basic meaning of these four phenomena. All right, and that is what is important in prelims also, my dear friends. Core, basic definition. If you know about it, you will be able to answer such questions. Chalo, now let us move on to new collective quantitative goal. Now what is it? So COP, that is Conference of Parties, has decided to move beyond, as I told you earlier, move beyond Copenhagen. Now what is Copenhagen? Copenhagen basically is a city in Scandinavian countries, in the Scandinavian Europe. Alright. In this particular country, in last decade, what basically had happened? One of the biggest climate conferences had happened. And in that, a climate fund was created. Alright. This fund concentrated on adapting to climate change. Okay, through various strategies, and it involved a corpus of $100 million. This corpus was to be created by developed countries and provided to developing countries so that they could fight climate change. They could fight climate change. New collective quantitative goals basically is the next step. It is basically a next step with respect to adapting to climate change. All right, with respect to adapting to climate change. As I was telling you. All right. Now, what the corpus will be and what the terms of the use will be. It is yet to be finalized. Basically, there are still negotiations happening. All right. What is though fixed is it will focus, as I was telling you, focus on adaptation towards climate change, and second thing, it will be used for the purpose of supporting mitigation activities in developing countries. So focus again is developing countries. All right. Will there be contribution from developing countries or not? That is still under negotiation. All right. This though, if you look into previous year's questions, now this though is very important from the point of view of examination, from the point of view of prelims. Such type of questions UPSC is interested in. All right. And the information that we have just discussed is more than enough. If you look into previous year's questions, if you look into PYQs now, on such type of information, we see questions coming up in examination. So let us consider the statements provided. First statement, it envisages raising fund. Okay, this is correct. For supporting mitigation, again correct. Activities, mitigation activities. Which mitigation activities? Climate change. Mitigation activities in both developed and developing countries? No. It is only focusing on developing countries. Second, it will mainly focus on mitigation efforts. Dekho, second statement is also not correct because it focuses on adaptation. Mitigation is one of the strategies in adaptation. One of the strategies. All right. In adaptation towards climate change. All right. Now let us look at the question provided. Which of the following statements are correct? Basically, both the statements are not correct. So our answer will be D. Our answer basically will be D. All right. Now let us move on to the next topic, and this is related to coal bed methane. Very important. This gas is found mainly in coal mines where mining of coal takes place. All right. This particular gas has very little hydrocarbon gases like propane and butane. Gases like propane and butane. All right. It also has very little hydrogen sulfide. In fact, because it has very little hydrogen sulfide, it is called as sweet gas. The reason for that is hydrogen sulfide has a very pungent smell. Hydrogen sulfide has a very pungent smell. So that smell is missing. Alright, other thing with respect to coal bed methane is it is taken into consideration as a gas that will help in mitigating climate change. Alright, it will help in mitigating climate change. First and foremost, if this gas is utilized, so what will happen is the main component of this gas, that is methane, it will be consumed, and this particular methane will therefore not be in the atmosphere as such, causing greenhouse effect. Second thing, by burning out methane, there is no outpouring of other greenhouse gases. So methane, if it burns out, it burns out. So other greenhouse gases are not emitted. There is basically no emission of other greenhouse gases. So in that way, it is considered important for the purpose of from the point of view of climate change, mitigating climate change basically. So let us now look at the questions that the question provided. Consider the following statements regarding coal bed methane. First, it is corrosive to metal pipes as it contains hydrogen sulfide. It does not contain hydrogen sulfide. It does not contain hydrogen sulfide at all. Okay, so first statement is not correct. Second statement, it contains significant proportion of higher hydrocarbons such as propane and butane. Again wrong. Okay, it contains methane, not hydrocarbons. Okay, not hydrocarbons like propane and butane. It contains methane. Next, it can be produced locally by composting biomass. Absolutely correct. Not only coal mines, but it can also be produced, as it is provided to you, it can be produced by composting biomass locally around you. So how many of the statements are correct? A. Only one statement, that is statement 3 is correct. Moving on to United Nations Convention on Laws of Seas. Now this was a convention which basically came into effect in 1982. And this is one of the conventions which is in news the most. Other important conventions, if you ask me, that are important from contemporary perspective, so they are regarding human rights, they are regarding use of chemical and biological weapons, because of the Russia-Ukraine war. Okay, but these three are the aspects of conventions that are in news. Okay, what does this particular law do? It recognizes the jurisdiction of different nations over the seabed or seas as such. Next thing, what it also does is it takes into consideration it takes into consideration the activities like mining and other economic activities and other economic endeavors when it comes to seas and different locations of mines in seas. Also, it creates institutions. For example, we do have International Seabed Authority to look into mining activities in areas that are beyond national jurisdiction. All right. So if you consider a particular coastal country, so what do we see? The thing is that if this is the low tide line of a coast, so from here till 12 nautical miles, what do we see? We basically see continental shelf. Now it is not geographically compulsory for a continental shelf to be of 12 nautical miles, but the thing is that from the low tide line to 12 nautical miles, basically what we see is national jurisdiction of a country. So this part of the sea is considered to be territory of the country adjacent to the sea, है ना? So from the coastline of India till 12 nautical miles, it is Indian territory. This basically is Indian territory if you take into example. Uske baad, if you take into consideration other concept, and that is exclusive economic zone. Exclusive economic zone is the area from low tide line till 200 nautical miles. Low tide line से 200 nautical miles. Every economic resource in this particular area belongs to the adjacent country, and therefore what we see is so much of fight for smaller islands. Why? The reason for that is simple. The size of island does not matter. If a particular island, suppose this island, it belongs to country A, then 200 nautical miles from this small island belong to the economic resources belong to country, and that is what the countries are interested in, not that particular island, but 200 nautical miles around that particular island. All right. So let us now get into the options, the question provided and the options of it. Consider the following statements regarding United Nations Convention on Laws of Seas and Deep Sea Mining. Okay. United Nations Convention on Laws of Seas provide a framework for management of ocean resources and delineate maritime boundaries between the nation. Absolutely correct. So in oceans, till where boundary of a country extends, that is decided by UNCLOS. So that we have seen, वो हमने यहाँ पे देखा है. We have already seen this 12 nautical miles. Alright. Second, deep sea mining refers to extraction of valuable minerals and metals from sea floor, typically at the depth of 200 meters. Absolutely correct. Again a correct statement. Alright. Again a correct statement. Third statement, UNCLOS explicitly regulates deep sea mining activities, including environmental protection measures and equitable sharing of benefits among the countries. Absolutely not. All right. It does not look into it directly, it looks into it indirectly. ठीक है. Remember, with respect to mining beyond 200 nautical miles, that is mining in that particular area which does not belong to exclusive economic zone, exclusive economic zone, mining in that particular area, is regulated by UNCLOS, but not in a fixed manner. All right, it provides an outline. An outline is provided, not the exact provisions for it are provided. All right, so they are negotiated with. All right, also the sharing of benefit is not fixed. It depends upon the participating countries. So यहाँ पे what do we see? The answer to be it is B. First and second statement are correct, third is wrong ना, तो answer will be B. Two statements are correct. Last topic of the day, strategic lawsuit against public participation. Now Supreme Court, it has basically come up with a remark on SLAPP. What is it? What the remark is? Supreme Court has said, because of this phenomena, we'll come to that. It is strategic lawsuit against public participation. Because of this phenomena, what has happened is there is a fear in public spirited individuals or journalist media houses to write stories that can harm reputation of big businesses, political parties. All right, now the story might be true, and it may affect people at large, and therefore people have the right to know it. But because of potential lawsuit against the institution, what will happen is, or the journalist or the media house, what will happen is, this particular story will never be published. All right, and people basically will remain in dark till effect of this particular events, effect of the news that are not published become detrimental to people on the ground. All right, so what basically has to be seen over here? The right provided by Article 19, right to freedom of expression. And second thing, reputation of a particular individual is not beyond truth, and also not beyond interest of people at large. All right, if that particular business has an answer to it, then what can basically happen? Clarification can be given. But what SLAPP amounts to is a legal way of blackmail. Can such litigations be stopped? Absolutely not, because everyone has the right to defend themselves, defend their reputation. All right, defend their reputation. But then it becomes the duty of jurisdiction to look into what particular lawsuits are for the purpose of defending reputation and what are for the purpose of blackmailing. The journalist. That has to be taken into consideration. That has to be understood by the judiciary. So judiciary here has to play a crucial role. All right. So let us now look at the options provided. Consider the following statement. Okay. Strategic lawsuit against public participation are lawsuits filed against individuals, organizations with the intention of intimidating, right, or silencing them from speaking out on the matters of public concerns. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. The primary aim of SLAPP is to seek monetary damage from the defendants. Absolutely not. Intention is not monetary damage. Intention is not to report something that will harm the reputation of the company, even if it is true. So which of the above statements given are correct? So first statement is the only statement that is correct, and so our answer will be A. Alright friends, thank you so much. I hope these videos are helping you. What we will do is, we will conclude the session for today, and I want you to go through the Think You of GS Core for the purpose of updating yourself on current affairs. And you will also basically be getting practice questions on this particular page. The link of Think You is provided in description. Do use it. All right. Chalo. Thank you so much. Bye.